Hello, welcome back to the channel where we talk about all things marketing inside of ClickUp. Today I want to talk about creating social content in ClickUp. Now there's a lot of different ways that you can do this, and I'm sure if you've been cruising around YouTube looking up different videos, then you'll find that there are endless ways that people are modifying ClickUp to use it for this purpose. And that's the whole reason I want to make a video about this, is because I want to emphasize the fact that it is so customizable, and that is what makes it so strong, is that you can make it and tweak it to exactly how you want to create content. And so I want to show you a really simple way that I've done just that, because I've had different clients that require different levels of intricacy to how you create the content and how you work with them inside of ClickUp. So let's just jump right into it. So the first piece that I want to talk about is the actual project management of the content creation. Right? So we want to create deadlines for ourselves. We want to create tasks, digestible tasks of creating this social content. So I always have a separate list for where I'm actually creating the content, which you'll know here. I usually indicate what I call workflows, or just asset management, I guess, whatever you want to call it. It's just where I actually create the content. I'll usually indicate with a little emoji, just so I know very quickly that that's where the content gets created. That's the workflow. And then I have a separate list for the actual project management. So it's called social content creation. So very simply, now you'll want to do this in whatever way makes sense for your client. But for this particular piece of content that I'm creating, I'm thinking about it in terms of campaigns, right? So we have a lead magnet. It's an ebook, and then we also have the actual offer that we're going to be making, which is a mentorship program, a coaching program. And so I wanted to create content about both of those things. So I just kind of chunked them into their own little projects, right? And so there were subtasks associated with each of those projects. So it was this one is still open entirely. So you can see it says create social posts, provide feedback on social posts, or this should actually be incorporate feedback on social posts once the client gives it to me, and then schedule social posts. So it's very simple, but the main purpose of this is just so I can provide time estimates to myself and give myself some deadlines, so that when I go to look at my daily to-do list, which I talk about a lot inside of ClickUp, which I'll show you here, my company-wide tasks view, I have my content creation, create social posts, schedule social posts. They're all here on the days in which I need to do them. So this is an important distinction, is there's planning out the social content creation, then there's actually creating it. So this is the first part, is just how I kind of organize myself and how I create the content. And then, so once I kind of know, okay, today I need to finish writing copy for these posts. So I would just start this timer, and then I would head over to my workflow section. Right? So this is what this looks like. So when I go to create content in this list, I've made it super simple, right? I've had other clients where I have if I'm working with other creators, say a copywriter and a graphic designer, I'll have separate views for those pieces of the process. But because it's just simply me working with the client and the client providing feedback, I have just created one view where everything lives. So this is what it looks like. I'm just zooming out so you can see very clearly. I have the post name, which is just a way to describe what the post is going to be about. An assignee. So if the client needs to review it, I'll assign it to them. And then the due date becomes when I need them to review it by. Comments is where we actually they provide their feedback and we go back and forth. And then the finished creative column is exactly what it sounds like. I have post type, content pillar, and final post status. So this is where I just kind of keep track of it as I go through the process. So I call it workflow. This is a workflow, what I indicate with the emoji, because I just indicate where we are in the process through a custom field. So this is a very simple way of doing it, right? So the first stage of creating content, was inside of this campaign view. Remember, we're back inside of our social content creation project management view. I actually just kind of went through and I was like, okay, these are what I'm thinking. These are I just started outlining it. It's very rough. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how pretty it is. I didn't put anything into a presentation. And then in the comments side, I kind of just asked some questions. Hey, before I get started, do you have any ideas for content you'd like me to create for this purpose. Hey, do you have any neat videos that you can share? And then you can see they're attaching them here. And so we just had this dialogue about what content I'm going to make before I then started creating them inside of here. So that was kind of how I worked it. Like the strategy happened in the task for this campaign, this social content creation campaign, where I'm managing the project. Remember, we're managing our timelines, we're managing our time estimates, and just the progress of these projects inside of our social content creation list. But then once they kind of were like, hey, these all look good, I started creating them one by one inside of the actual social content creation workflow view. Now, I like to, let me back it up. Before, I used to use a text field, like a long text field for copy, but I've actually since changed that, and I've just started using the actual task description fields. And I find this is better because the long text field would always get cut off, and when it was long, it would just kind of make, I don't know, it just wasn't very nice to work with. Sometimes too, it would actually disappear. The text would disappear, which we don't want that. So I just found it's easier to just say, hey, like, I think let's see, I had one in here where I said, hey, like, make sure you look at the copy inside of the task. So they knew to look in here. And then it just, I don't know, it's just easier for me to write the copy in there. So the copy, you can't see it from this view. You have to click into the task or hover over this, which is kind of nice as well. And that's it, right? So I would just, like, I'm going to work on these ones today. I've got them organized by final post status. You can see here. So I have my chunk of copywriting. I know that these ones are all done. The design is all done for all these. I just have to go and actually create the copy. And then when I'm done the copy, I'm going to flip these into review, and I'm going to assign it to the clients and give them a due date. Now, what you could do if you wanted to make this more streamlined, like this is kind of a one-off project for this client. If you were doing this for them every single month, you might want to create an automation that says when I change this custom status to review, it'll automatically assign it to these two people. And then alternatively, you could also have it remove the assignees when you set it to approved. So those are kind of some things that could save you time, especially because I'm assigning it to more than one person. But it's really easy to set those things up. I can just show you really quickly here. So when custom field changes, and I will change it as final post status I'm just going to say to review, then change assignees and add them there. So create, super easy. Like I actually have been meaning to do that, and I'm like, it's fine. I'll just manually do it. Now I'll do, let's say I want to do custom field change from, or I'm going to say, final post status. I'm just going to do the one where it removes it. Approved, then change assignees. Or no, this is actually remove assignees. Let's see. Change assignees. I feel like there is a way to remove. Yeah, remove assignees. Boom. And then reassign. I don't need to reassign to myself. I'm just going to do that. Boom. So there's those two automations done in like, what was that? 30 seconds? Super easy. So now let's test it. If I were to go, I actually don't want to do that because I don't want to, that's fine. If I say review, it takes a second to keep that in mind when you're doing that. Oh, boom. So it's just moved it into its own section. That's review. I like to look at it that way because it kind of like chunks it and it shows me where everything is in the process very simply. And like I said, it takes a minute. Sometimes you have to just refresh your view for it to actually show. And there they are. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say approved, and I'm going to refresh, and then those assignees should be gone. Yeah, I think that was this one. Yeah, because this one doesn't have any copy. So let me just put that back into copywriting, because that's what I actually need to be doing with it. But just to show you. So that's it. It's super easy, right? Like that, there's no complexities to it. But what makes it so powerful is that you can kind of organize it however you want, right? So if it was better for you to be looking at it by post type, if you wanted to see which ones were single posts, carousels, reels, like that could be a way that you look at it. I also have it set up so I have two different views, one that's a calendar build and one that's published post, which is just a filter to show any status that is set to complete. So, once something is scheduled, I just make it to, undo, I set it to completed. So it's done. It's scheduled, everything's done, and then it's really easy for me to know which ones have been scheduled, and they go right here into our scheduled post. So I hope that helps to show you that there are different ways you can create content in ClickUp. And then it all boils down to what is most helpful for you and how you work with your clients, right? We want to make things as simple as possible for ourselves. And I think that was something that a mistake I made early days, is kind of overcomplicating things. So I'm trying to peel things back, strip it back, make it super simple so that it's enjoyable to use and really simple for everybody that's involved. And so far, I'm really enjoying this process. Okay, hope that's helpful. If you want more tips like this, sign up for my weekly newsletter, Unapologetically Organized, and I will see you in the inbox.